Santa Rosa County, California, where one resident is hoping crews can fortify a rain-soaked hill with gravel in an attempt to prevent a potential landslide.
There's another storm coming in. I'm expecting a little bit more of the dirt to shift. I feel hopeful, that they're working on fixing the issue, and, hopefully it's only positive movement from here.
Forecasters say California is getting hit with another atmospheric river, which can be described as a fire hose that blasts saturated air from the tropics into elevated latitudes and spraying increased amounts of rain or snow.
We're not hoping for it, but Mother Nature, she's got her own mind.
California has already experienced at least 11 of these atmospheric rivers this season, and this one is expected to last through Wednesday. Thousands of Californians were advised to flee their homes.
We had conversations with the residents here a few days ago. They all evacuated voluntarily and to the evacuation point at Porterville College.
More than 25 million people in California, Nevada, and Arizona are under alerts for strong winds. The National Weather Service says the San Bernardino Mountains could see up to 4 feet of snow by Wednesday.
You're watching News Epicenter with me, Maria Shakil. Amidst the manhunt for Amritpal Singh, some breaking news now coming in. CNN News 18 has now accessed exclusive visuals of Amritpal Singh, where he can be seen ditching his vehicle and getting on a bike after changing his clothes. The visuals, in fact, show the Khalistani preacher's elaborate bid to escape the police and the supporters who are helping him. Anshul, who got access to those visuals, is joining me live from Jalandhar. Anshul, what is the date of these visuals and where exactly is this?
So yes, this happened right after the chase that was being done by the Punjab police to nab Amritpal Singh. In fact, on the 18th of March itself, when Amritpal Singh was able to skip from the grasp of the Punjab police, he went somewhere very close to Manhunt. Manhunt, remember, is the place where Amritpal Singh was actually supposed to do a sabha, and Manhunt was the very place where the police had made elaborate plans that as soon as Amritpal Singh would come here, they are going to arrest him. But somehow or the other, Amritpal Singh got a tip-off that police is waiting for him there, and hence he tried to escape from there. And the entire chase sequence that we saw happening on that very day, on the 18th of March, happened very close to Manhunt. On the other hand, Amritpal Singh actually changed 3 to 4 vehicles. Initially, he was traveling in a Mercedes. From that, he changed his vehicle to an Isuzu, and then he changed his vehicle to a Brezza. He changed all these 3 changes happened within the very small bylanes of Manhunt itself. And once he got into a Brezza, he goes to another village which is very close to Manhunt, known as Shahkot. And in Shahkot, along with his friends and along with his supporters, he ditches that Brezza vehicle and gets onto a bike. And while he was changing his bike, he goes ahead and changes his turban. Initially, the turban that he was wearing was a blue chola. He ditches that in the Brezza itself, and then he goes ahead and puts on that pink turban, changes his entire attire, puts on a jacket, and he puts on goggles as well. Also with a bag, he was trying to hide his face at that very point. So yes, this entire sequence that we have access actually clearly shows that how scared was Amritpal. After the Ajnala incident, remember the interviews that he gave to CNN News 18 as well, he very clearly stated that if any sort of attack or if any sort of arrest or FIR happens against any of his aides or any of his persons, the same kind of action is going to happen against the administration and against the Punjab police. But the manner in which he fled from the spot, just trying to save his life, leaving all his associates behind, actually tell the real face of this coward known as Amritpal Singh. So yes, okay. The Punjab police is now tracing through this CCTV footage what was the last known location of Amritpal Singh. But yes, as of now, the entire map is being routed, but there still is no clue as to where currently is Amritpal Singh station. Yes,
I want to understand from you. So there is a man who actually gets him on a bike and then he helps him, escape. Who are these people? Are they supporters and followers of this supposed preacher?
So yes, these are associates of Amritpal Singh. In fact, the entire belt in which Amritpal Singh was operating in Punjab, he was not operating across the state of Punjab. In fact, he was operating very close to the borders of Pakistan, places like Amritsar, Taran, and few places in Jalandhar and Monga as well. So this is the entire belt in which Amritpal Singh had actually managed to garner some sort of support, and that is the reason why he used to travel in that entire area itself. He does not used to go beyond that to other parts of Punjab, and these were his followers. In fact, the police, we broke this story this morning, that how he actually escaped, how he actually changed his vehicle to a Brezza. That Brezza has been recovered by the Punjab police. In fact, his chola that he was wearing, the blue chola that he was wearing, that has also been found by the Punjab police. Along with that, several weapons have also been recovered and a walkie-talkie as well. So he was actually prepared with his aides that he is going to escape. Now you see that there are two bikes and there are two people who are riding those bikes. The people who were riding those bikes, they have been taken into custody by the Punjab police, whereas Amritpal Singh and his other associate who was with him in that very vehicle, initially in that Mercedes, both these people have not been arrested as of now, and the Punjab police is now suspecting that he might have crossed the borders of Punjab. Either he went towards Pakistan, or he went towards the Nepal border, which is actually a very porous border, and it is very easy to cross from India to Nepal. So the police is at this point in time suspecting that he might have travelled towards Nepal and would have tried to escape from there, and that is the reason why the Punjab police at this point in time is taking help of all the polices that come in this entire area, be it the UP police, Haryana police, JK police, or the Delhi police itself. So all these police forces are now working in tandem along with central agencies and intelligence agencies as well to get the last location and to nab Amritpal Singh at the earliest.
I want to understand from you, Anshul, before I let you go, because there are several men who are seen in this CCTV footage, and this is the last set of visuals that police has on the last location of Amritpal Singh. Have they managed to get some details from these men as to where did they drop him? You know, as you said that the border with Nepal particularly is very porous. The sense that Punjab police has that he perhaps has left the, perhaps has escaped from Punjab itself. So, what is it that they have picked up from those who were trying to let him escape?
So yes, the uncle of Amritpal Singh, who has been arrested by the Punjab police, actually he has gone out and said that the manner in which Amritpal actually went ahead while they were escaping, they went ahead and made one person a sarpanch of a village at gunpoint. They stayed at his home for almost 24 hours, and from there they have managed to escape. And an FIR also has been registered in this entire and FIR has been also registered in this entire matter. So yes, the Punjab police they have already arrested at least 9 of the associates of Amritpal Singh, and from them they are tracking down his last location. So yes, it remains to be seen as to how quickly can the Punjab police go and nab Amritpal Singh, because remember, in the next 4 days they have to submit a reply to the Punjab and Haryana High Court, where they have to state that what were the failures in that entire operation due to which Amritpal Singh was actually managed to escape from their grasp, even after they had such a huge force and such intelligence services at their disposal.
Anshul, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, India has seen the consequences of unchecked radicalism. The nation still bears the scars of the Khalistani insurgency. While the Indian security establishment is working overtime to stamp out Khalistani radicals and bring them to justice, their nexus in the West is spreading unchecked. On Monday, we showed you the attacks on Indian missions in London and San Francisco, where vandals tried to desecrate the Indian tricolour. The US State Department has condemned the crime and promised full cooperation. While one person has been arrested in London over the attack on the Indian High Commission. However, the rampage of these radicals has also been seen in Canada. The visit of the Indian High Commissioner and consulate staff to Surrey in British Columbia was cancelled by the police after protests by Khalistani supporters. The protesters even threatened an Indian journalist who has accused the police of being mute spectator. This rampage is also being seen in Australia. You can see those visuals coming from various parts of the world. That has seen multiple attacks on Hindu temples by Khalistani radicals. Supporters of Amritpal Singh gathered at the Australian Parliament in Canberra to protest against the Punjab police's crackdown. while Khalistani supporters armed with swords and sticks attacked Indian expats in Melbourne for waving the tricolour as they made a failed push for a Khalistani referendum. These pockets of radicalism are spread across the Western world and pose a real security threat. While India has raised the global alarm, time and again we see Western governments going soft on these radicals. India is a crucial ally of the West, with the Indian diaspora spread across multiple countries, but there is no crackdown on these radical cells, which seem to have found a safe haven in these nations. This begs the question, why does the West tolerate Khalistani radicals? Doesn't it hurt bilateral relations and strategic ties with India?
One belonging an explanation to ask the culprits and the perpetrators of what happened at London is going to be quickly arrested and prosecuted. We launched a strong protest.
I'll be taking those questions to the panelists who will be joining me shortly. But before, let me go straight to London, where Sanjay Suri is joining us live. Sanjay, Indian community leaders are concerned. Security has been beefed up. One arrest happened. But the question is this enough?
It clearly is not. And it never has been. And that is the principal reason why a lot of groups are in fact encouraged to attack the Indian High Commission in this instance or other Indian facilities, because they seem to know that they can get away with it. Look at the latest incident. This was on Sundays. Now more than 48 hours since that attack, we've had one arrest, and this is the person who is Avtar Singh Khanda, who has been a known Khalistani. He got these people together, but there were 15 to 20 of them, and they were present when the police arrived. The police have had a good hard look at them. The police saw the vandalism before them, they saw the vandals before them, and they simply let them walk away. Khanda was arrested only later. We are still waiting for the arrest of the others. As the law goes, the others are equally criminally liable for a prosecution, but we've had no further arrest. And always there seems to be this pattern repeating itself that creates a difficulty diplomatically. It's a problem in crime itself, but it's also really, in fact, an encouragement to groups that they can really go ahead and do what they want, and that there will be no questions asked, and that they will not face any prosecution. They seem to have this confidence.
They certainly seem to have that confidence. And what is giving them that confidence? Sanjay Suri, really appreciate your time. Adit Kothari, founder, Indic Society, joining me from London. Dr. Tara Kartha is former Director, National Security Council Secretariat. Lieutenant General retired KJ Singh is joining us live as well. And Pinak Ranjan Chakravarti is former Secretary MEA. Adit Kothari, what is giving them this confidence, and what domestic advantage is an Indian origin UK Prime Minister in Rishi Sunak getting by going soft on Khalistan supporters?
Thanks for having me on the show. The West, especially the countries like UK, Canada, Australia, have essentially become a complete breeding ground for anti-India ecosystem. And, this was essentially mentioned by Dr. Jaishankar a couple of weeks ago when he said that, politics of India is essentially being played out by other means. And this is essentially emanating from the West, which is why we're seeing the Khalistanis in nexus with the Islamists, the Stop Caste Discrimination cabal, the dismantling global Hindutva gang, and all of these are sort of working in conjunction. And I will give you instances like, going back into 2019 when there was an attack on the Indian High Commission in London against the abrogation of Article 370. And surprisingly, you would have noticed that the Islamists who were attacking the Indian High Commission were essentially supported by the Khalistani, or rather a small pocket of the Khalistani cabal. So coming back to your question as to why the West is essentially supporting these elements in the garb or the masked under the mask of humanitarianism. I personally feel it's the lack of the Indian diplomacy to make the cost higher. We haven't diplomatically. India has not made the cost higher for these countries to essentially, give.
What can be that diplomatic cost, Ambassador Chakravarti? What can be that diplomatic cost? How do you make it higher, as he's pointing out? Because the fact is that these Khalistan referendums have been allowed in the West. Somehow these Western countries see this as a just cause.
Well, they have justified it on, freedom of speech and etc., and all the democratic freedoms that they claim that people there enjoy. And these countries are also all allies, by the way. They are English-speaking countries and part of the Five Eyes Alliance group, intelligence sharing group. So I'm only stating this as a fact, and I'm not imputing any motives here. But the point is that you ask the question as to why they get away with it. They get away with it because this is not the first time. It's been happening for a very long time. I was posted in London just after the Blue Star happened in 1984. And I have dealt with these kind of people, demonstrations, etc. What surprised me was that these demonstrators were allowed to come near the door of the High Commission. Earlier, I remember very clearly that they were kept on the other side of the road, on the other pavement, and they were allowed. And don't forget, in London, you just cannot demonstrate without permission, without indicating the venue you are going to be. And so the police knew exactly that this is going to happen. But there was no security provided. There was no police presence at all. Only after all this happened that some policemen turned up. So I think this is a part of a game plan that is being played out in the West, where, despite the fact that we have good relations with all these countries, but every country in its relationship, even with its friends, seek leverage. So this is a leverage which the West has, apart from various other reasons of, these people are in.
But Pinaki Chakravarti, the situation certainly and India's positioning vis-a-vis the world has changed from what it was to now. In India right now, in Prime Minister Narendra Modi, there is a lot of, the West looking towards India on a number of fronts. Do you think they can continue to be sympathetic, or this arrest that has happened, because India had asked the UK to quickly arrest and prosecute pro-Khalistan protesters who were involved in this attack? One arrest happened, they will also ensure prosecution. And this is the beginning of a changed view that UK would have towards Khalistani movement.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, this is the first time I am hearing they have arrested anybody for these kind of demonstrations.
Okay, you're saying that this is for the first time it has happened. Dr. Tarak
I haven't heard of this before.
Okay.
So I think they are taking some action, some seriousness, but I still blame them for the callousness with which they allowed it to happen. Then it could have been controlled. There could have been policemen or some security provided, and these people should not have been allowed to come near the door of the High Commission. They will, of course, come up with a myriad excuses as to how difficult it is. It was a Sunday, and all kinds of things will be said. But as I said, there is an element of leverage. There is an element of Indian politics being played out there, domestic politics being played out among the diaspora. And the Khalistan issue has been there for quite some time. And it props up, raises its head from time to time. So this is one of those occasions where, again, this person who was going around openly in Punjab saying all these things, question is, why didn't we do anything at that time? And so I think it should have been nipped in the bud, but it wasn't, because of domestic politics in India and in Punjab.
So then, Dr. Tarak Artha, why do you think a Rishi Sunak government will not act, although you have UK member of parliament who has said that most Indians or most majority of the Sikhs, in fact, living in the UK, absolutely reject the Khalistani project? We haven't really heard from Rishi Sunak.
I don't think the Prime Minister being Indian is probably a what shall I say? It's a handicap in this case, because he's expected to act in such a way by India, and he's expected to do a different thing back in the UK. So remember, there are people who are opposing him also, which makes it extremely awkward for him. But apart from that, they have, in recent times, we have had some institutional cooperation with UK in terms of dealing with some of these Khalistanis, which there has been some quiet cooperation. NSA has gone there, he's talked to them. This particular incident, I would refer you to a report in The Guardian, it's a British report, which talks of that the Metropolitan Police is broken, rotten, suffering, collapsing public trust, and guilty of institutional racism. So this is a terrible report on the Metropolitan Police in London. So there is probably a degree of institutional decay that we're seeing here. But on the other hand, what worries me is the synchronization which we're seeing, with across the world, where there are people who are coming together and doing this, the landing of Amritpal from Dubai, the whole thing to me seems like a very well staged play. In which case, I'm still saying if that is so, then it has been in preparation for at least a year. You can't do this sort of thing suddenly. That is my worry as to what is going on.
Okay. Yes, Adit, quickly, and then I bring in Lieutenant General K.J. Singh.
The one thing that I wanted to bring to your for your viewers, in London or in the United Kingdom, you just cannot pick up a group of people and go out and protest. To conduct a protest, there has to be, a method. You have to take police permissions. You have to get the permission you have to notify the venue where you are essentially going to be protesting, to ensure that, public services are not disrupted. And none of this process was essentially followed for this particular protest and for the protest in 2019. So this is very important, which clearly marks that the security lapses of the British agencies needs to be called out. Article 31 of the Vienna Convention clearly mentions that the host nation must provide and protect any intrusion and damage to the property, which is the extension of that particular country, which the British agencies have completely failed to do so. So I think that really, really needs to be called out.
Okay, the question is also, General K.J. Singh, how are such radicals able to raise funds in Western nations when it is a fact that such funds are used for anti-India operations?
See, Myra, firstly, Jai Hind to all your viewers. This is a small group of people because it doesn't have wide appeal in the societies, either in Britain or in Australia or even in New Zealand, Canada and all these countries. A small group of people which, because of the electoral compulsions, vote bank politics, is being allowed to punch much above its weight. Getting funds, there are multiple sources. They are getting funds from ISI. There are groups which are traditionally part of anti-India lobby. There are collections done in Gurdwaras which are misused for this. And here there is an element who's on asylum visa. Now he had no business. He should be just taken to task very severely. His visa should be revoked if required and handed over to Indian authorities. And entire thing is based on a principle of reciprocity. You have this, that the embassies, chancelleries, consulates are well protected. So in sum, what I like to say is that it's a very grave, serious failure on part of British intelligence, and even in Australia, their intelligence agencies, their policing people, and the fact that people were allowed to do this. Only saving grace is one of the Indian consulate staffer rose to the occasion, retrieved the flag, and then we immediately put out a bigger flag. So our spirit is not dented. But such things have to be
taken up at appropriate level.
Yes.
I'm sure government is doing it.
General KJ Singh,
But one
the
arrest
point
is
being
not
made
enough.
by Dr. Tara Karta here was that there seems to be a larger conspiracy or design here, that someone who was in Dubai makes a presence in Punjab, becomes overnight a preacher, and when we look at those visuals, and I'll ask the producer to put that on our television screens, he is seen escaping by changing his turban, and his associates help him. The sense that we are getting from Punjab police is that he could have very well escaped from Punjab, because the border with Nepal in particular is very porous. He could have crossed over to Nepal or maybe moved to even Pakistan. The question is, from where does this man really come all of a sudden, and he captures the imagination of the entire society there, and then becomes the face of the Khalistan movement.
See, Myra, one thing is there. He doesn't have widespread support in Punjab. Nobody has risen in his favor, or there are no mass protests. And he is somebody who just come. He was being allowed to gain traction, and thank God he's been taken care of. And today High Court of Punjab and Haryana has passed very severe strictures. I didn't want to go into operations aspect when the operation is going on, but let me tell you what kind of cordon is this, that 4 vehicles break the cordon. Why should it have been done by day? He could have been nabbed by night. Night it's easier to nab. And a thing like, see, the basic problem is also that people in Punjab police are today very defensive because of the Baragari incident, Nakodar, sacrilege cases. So large number of SITs are in operation, and police people are under scanner. They are being brought to law. So I think this operation was planned with a clear direction. There'll be no use of firearms. There'll be no strong arm tactics applied, and he'll be nabbed. But that is where they failed, and somehow I hope he's arrested, because that'll be a big failure, because whatever has happened is okay, but we need to get hold of this guy, and but he's lost further credibility. You know, in Punjab, in Sikh society, people don't run away. The teaching is that when you are in such a situation, you fight back, you stand your ground. So he should have, by doing this, he has lost further credibility.
Okay.
So Myra, all in all, it is a serious situation, but not a grave emergency at this stage.
Okay. Dr. Tara Karta, the point that we were trying to make to understand what can India do diplomatically. India's global stock is rising. Can the government make the Khalistani threat a global agenda, given their spread in the West? Reports are coming in from Australia, Canada, other countries as well.
I think you're going to have to walk a very fine line, because it's not a good idea to sort of overdo this whole thing, because like the general said, it's a very, very small minority in each of these countries who are doing this. So you don't want to sort of overplay this whole thing. At the same time, you don't want it to get out of hand. So it's a very difficult line. But I just want to add one more thing, if I may, that the general was saying, I hope we arrest him soon. The problem is, once you arrest him, what are you going to do with him? Once he's arrested, there will be another bunch of people who are saying free Amrit. It's already trending on Twitter. There's, I think, 22 tweets around saying free him. Free him from where? We don't know where he is. So arresting him could be done, but what do you do later? You have more trouble. See, this seems to have been thought through. So if he's arrested, I don't see this problem going away.
Okay.
That is the thing.
Okay, General KJ Singh, when you say arrest, what after that is the question?
Yes.
See, NSA has been applied. 7 people. See, Dr. Tara Karta has made some very valid points, and I do share the concern that what to do after arrest. We have applied NSA. The government has applied NSA. 7 people have been shipped to Dibrugarh. So there are clear violations of Arms Act, of receiving funds from abroad, having ammunition far in excess, weapons licensed in J&K. there are many charges, and if we carry the prosecution through and we build a tight case, then he can be brought to law. And the thing is, it has to be a multi-agency approach. Like Dr. Tarakarta and others are saying, socio-economic correctives also have to be applied. Sikh youth have to be given more engagement, jobs, communication strategy has to be improved. We have to rally the opinion makers and bring out the fact that this man is just pretending to be Waris-e-Punjab, self-appointed one. He does not have a mass following. He himself is not lived by the code, and he's abandoned it by running away. So all these factors have to be brought up. And I'm sure Punjabis are not interested in going back to that situation which existed in 80s, and we had such problems.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Adit Kothari, Dr. Tarakarta, Lieutenant General KJ Singh and Pinak Chakravarti. A piece of breaking news coming in now. And amidst the manhunt for Amritpal Singh, Shiromani Akali Dal President Sukhbir Badal has tweeted, and I'm quoting him, the Shiromani Akali Dal has decided to provide complete legal assistance to all Sikh youth arrested in the ongoing extra-constitutional crackdown in Punjab and ensure their rights are not trampled upon. Our legal team will coordinate with party leaders in the districts and provide prompt legal aid where desired, is what Sukhbir Badal is saying. Anshul is joining me on the phone line. Anshul, here is Sukhbir Badal saying that this, what is going on in Punjab, is extra-constitutional crackdown.
Well, definitely, this is just politics waiting to happen in this entire matter, because remember, all these parties had already come out and raised their voice against the manner in which Amritpal Singh was operating. But yes, over the last 3 to 4 days, more than 156 youth have been arrested by the police on suspicion of being very close aides or being supporters of Amritpal Singh. But yes, if you talk to the police sources on the ground, they say that all these people who have been arrested, they are some way or the other connected to Amritpal Singh, and hence arresting them was very, very important when it came to maintaining the law and order situation in Punjab. Because remember, the last time, what mistake did the Punjab government do and the Punjab administration do during the Ajnala incident is that they underestimated the following and the powers of Amritpal Singh, and that is the reason why we saw the entire Ajnala incident unfolding in front of our eyes. This time around, initially when the entire operation was started by the Punjab police, they were extra cautious of the fact that each and every person who is close and whose name have already come up as close aides of Amritpal, they are arrested already. Even before the entire operation was started on the 18th of March, at least 74 people were already taken into custody by the Punjab police. And this entire operation happened after the meeting of Amit Shah and Bhagwant Mann, and from the 3rd of March till the 18th of March, for the next 15 days, the entire operation was planned and people were very quietly nabbed. Remember, this FIR that was filed in Ajnala was filed on the 24th of February itself, but it was kept as a top secret. Nobody knew that an FIR has already been filed against Amritpal Singh. To maintain the law and order situation, all this action has been taken. But yes, now the Akali Dal has come to the fore. Sukhbir Singh Badal himself coming out.
So basically, it's like an open position that has been taken by Akalis now. Anshul, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Shifting focus now to debate 2. As the war in Ukraine continues to rage, Chinese President Xi Jinping is in Moscow for a 2-day visit, meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to reports, the Chinese president and his Russian counterpart held discussions on China's peace proposal for Ukraine. Xi aims to flex China's diplomatic strength after consolidating his power by securing a 3rd term as president. However, experts suggest this meeting comes ahead of Putin's fresh offensive in Ukraine to secure his military holdings as NATO continues to arm the Ukrainian forces. Reports suggest Putin aims to send a message to the world that he has not been isolated. Remember, this also comes after he was indicted by the International Criminal Court for war crimes in Ukraine, while the United States has announced a new military assistance package for the war-torn nation. Meanwhile, in a counter-diplomacy move, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is in Ukraine to show solidarity with Zelensky. What we are seeing is Cold War era lines being drawn across the global world order. As Putin grapples for international support, is the meeting with Xi pure optics or the emergence of an anti-NATO axis? Will the two-day summit in Moscow see a push for peace or an escalation of the conflict? With India's allies on both sides of the divide, how does the Modi government navigate this diplomatic tightrope? Dr. Nagao, fellow at Hudson Institute, is joining me from Tokyo. We have Tatiana, Russian journalist from Moscow. Valentin is a Ukrainian MP from Kyiv. And Einar Tangent, political affairs commentator from Beijing. Dr. Nagao, I'm going to begin with you. The dual visits by Kishida and Xi underscore deep divisions in Northeast Asia towards the war in Ukraine, with Japan pledging, substantial aid for Kyiv. So most countries in the world have chosen sides. Then the question is, did Xi's visit then to Moscow prompt Kishida's visit to Kyiv? Because that came as a surprise.
Of course, the two visits are planned separately, but as background situation, two countries are sharing the same background situation. For example, Kishida's visit to Ukraine has three purposes. Firstly, China's growing influence toward Russia, and Japan need to deal with Russia and China and North Korea at the same time. That is the reason Japan strengthens the cooperation with other allies and partners. And secondly, Japan will be the presidency of G7 in the wartime. So Russia's aggression to Ukraine is a big challenge for the next G7. Japan need to lead. In this case, if Japan keeps pacifism, Japan cannot show the leadership. Japan should be the normal. In this case, Japan need to show the courage to go to Kyiv, even if the Kyiv is under attack of the other country. And thirdly, indeed, this operation is a joint operation, cooperation with India, Poland, and Ukraine. That's what it has done. So this means that such kind of the cooperation itself is the purpose to strengthen the cooperation with other countries. So this was the first experience for Japan after the World War II. So that is the reason, these three reasons, the background is the same. Okay. With China's visit to Russia. So that's why
the other important point there, I mean, that should be highlighted, that Japan is hosting, in fact, it has the presidency of G7, and hence that visit of Kishida becomes important. Einar Tangent joining us from Beijing. With Beijing's visible slant towards Moscow, what makes Xi confident that Zelensky will accept the peace plan for Ukraine?
Well, there is no peace plan. What China is doing is trying to set the table so that there can actually be a meeting. China's diplomatic push is not towards pushing its own agenda. It's really about trying to get these two sides to come to an agreement. Let us say that we're all clear that a military solution is not going to be acceptable on one side. If Russia were to completely win, it would be faced with very hostile local people that would drain its resources and make it a daily target of Western media. If Ukraine were to win, it would threaten perhaps a nuclear retaliation, at which point we're facing Armageddon. So at this juncture, diplomacy is the only rational process. But the U.S. is not pushing
Putin
it.
and
China
Xi
is.
have referred to each other rather warmly in this trip, calling each other dear friend. So if the side has been chosen by China, then this peace plan or an option of bringing the two sides on table doesn't really hold.
Well, I think you're correct. I mean, saying somebody's a dear friend is important to earn trust. What we have today is a trust deficit. The fact is that the Europeans, Hollande and Merkel, both admitted that they had no intention of following through on the Minsk I and II peace plans that they signed on to. So the question is, how do you regain trust? I don't think you regain trust by calling somebody an enemy. That's what the U.S. is doing. China is trying to get all sides together. It has been neutral in this. It is not supplying Russia with armaments the way that the U.S. and Europe is. They're simply pointing to the fact that this is a situation that has to be settled diplomatically. And it would be better if it's done before more lives are lost. I don't know how anyone could argue with that.
Dr. Nagar, what are your thoughts on this? Because if you look at the plan which was put out by one of the news websites, they are also saying that you're stopping unilateral sanctions. And these sanctions have come from NATO countries and also from the West against Russia.
NATO react the Russia's invasion, I think. So Russia invade Ukraine. That was the first move. After that, NATO tried to react. So that's why Japan's stance is very clear. We stand with Ukraine. Russia was wrong and NATO is not wrong. So view from Japan, that is very clear. So if Russia say, or if China say, the sanction against Russia is wrong, Japan think you are wrong. That is our stance, very clear.
But Japan has also pledged $5.5 billion in humanitarian aid to Ukraine. So Japan has also chosen its side just as China has.
Of course, humanitarian assistance is very important, and Japan supports refugees of the Ukraine. But at the same time, because we stand with Ukraine and we think the Ukraine is a victim, that's why we must support Ukraine refugee, Ukraine country, and even if the armed forces, we will support it because we stand with Ukraine. It is very clear because we respect rule-based order and Russia violated.
Yes, so are you saying, and are you in agreement with what the US and most of Europe feels, that the Chinese leader's presence in Moscow is in fact a ringing endorsement for Putin at a time when his military is running out of supplies and Russia's economy is struggling under Western sanctions?
I think China tried to China tried to supply the weapon to Russia, and there are some evidences we have already found. For example, some ammunition Russian army are using in the Ukraine is made in China, or for the hunting purpose, the China have already exported assault rifles or in front of Russia. So in this case, if there is arms export or arms donation, arms supply, China has already done, and the NATO side already done to support Ukraine. So in this case, if the China say the NATO side should take the responsibility, view from Japan, NATO side is not wrong. NATO side try to defend the victims.
You know, what is increasingly becoming clear is that China perhaps is a lone voice supporting, increasingly isolated Putin here. And he's become a global pariah in many ways. And China is the only one. And let's not forget that this is 9th visit of Xi ever since he took charge.
Yes, and but it's not a ringing endorsement. China was taken by surprise by the action in Ukraine. They have principles that say non-interference in other countries. They're not happy with that. But on the other hand, this stuff about Ukraine as a victim, I agree with that. But the victimization was done by the US and Europe by pushing into those areas. I mean, Kiernan, Kissinger, great statesman of the US said if you go into Ukraine, if you push NATO in or the EU, you will have conflict with Russia. The same thing was said by President Biden and also by the current head of the CIA, Casey. So at this juncture, if you know something's going to happen and you do it, I think you're responsible. So, China is simply trying to bring peace, and it is, of course, earning the ire of the United States, which doesn't want to see peace. It's benefiting. Russia is weakened.
Okay.
Europe is weakened.
Okay. We also have Valentin joining me from Kyiv. Valentin, how is this visit being seen?
As from Kyiv, from the Ukrainian parliament, I can tell you that for us, for a country is defending from Russian aggression, is very important that China would never and by no means help Russia to conduct this aggressive war and killing our people. That's the main thing and target what we here in Ukraine understand is up to date. Plus, we would like by all international community efforts not to let Russia use China and North Korea for military supply for Russian army of aggression.
Okay, then how is this peace plan of Beijing acceptable? Will there be a rethink, some kind of consideration by Zelensky? Will he give us some thought to it?
We would like to at least make as much efforts as we can and could. And as you know, today in Kyiv, we received the Prime Minister of Japan. Before that, many other leaders of Big Seven. We would like that US-led and international-led coalition against Russian aggression would strengthen, not to split apart.
Would you have wanted Xi to perhaps visit Kyiv as well? Was there a sense that, was there an anticipation?
Yeah, we understand the leader of China is a busy person. This is his first visit for 4 years, I think, even to Moscow. We would like to first establish contact between our Ukrainian president and Mr. Xi. And I think that would be the first and very important step for China, such big country, to better understand what is happening and what we are fighting for in Ukraine, for our sovereignty, for our independence, for our people.
So, but can Beijing's peacemaking project be taken seriously by Kyiv? Will Zelensky be even giving it a thought?
I don't think we here in Ukraine can be much, let's say, involved in such process or projects. But as a peace plan, we clearly, with the most countries in the United Nations and around the world, we clearly understand that Russia should stop its aggression, withdraw all the occupational forces from Ukraine, and this is the true and the only way towards peace.
Okay, Roxolana, two visits, two leaders, both being watched very closely by the two sides. The question is that Xi perhaps is hoping that he has gone with a peace project for Ukraine that may not be acceptable to Ukraine. Then why is Putin hopeful that Xi could play that role?
I think that the most important thing, the most important part of this scenario is to start that narrative, to make the first step. And if the diplomatic issue has emerged and has been placed on the discussion table, I think it's an important move forward. And it can be considered as a considerate move for all the parties, as well as for Moscow and for Kyiv and Beijing. And I have heard a comment of my colleague, I guess he was from the United States, who has mentioned the concern of the West, and he has mentioned the position of Henry Kissinger in consideration to Ukrainian crisis. I think that's important to check up the roadmaps, the watches of all the sides, and to understand that the world has reached a crucial point of the turbulence. and all the parties have to cool down and to stop, to make a few steps backward in order to readjust the situation, to cool it down. That's why the significant part of it is to start a discussion. We're not discussing either this plan is relevant, reliable, or non-reliable. It's important that this discussion is on the table. So it has started. It's a good sign.
You're calling it a good sign, but the question is, the Ukrainian MP here, Valentin, is certainly hopeful. They were of the opinion that she would visit Kyiv as well, will pay a visit to Ukraine. That did not happen. So, if anything, she seems to have chosen a side.
I don't think so. To my point of view, if Mr. Xi would have taken that step, the soil is still too fragile. It's the wound is still quite opened. I would take it as a next phase. I mean, a discussion with Kyiv to combine the things at the same very moment that will actually not make the parties closer to the desired outcome at this very moment.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Nagao, Valentin, Aina, Tangent, and Roxana for their thoughts. And of course, 2 visits that are being watched by the world very closely. Lots more news and updates on the other side. Stay with us.
हमें सस्पिशन है कि इसमें ISI का एंगल भी है, फॉरेन फंडिंग भी है, उस पे फर्दर इन्वेस्टिगेशन हमारी चल रही है।
जो अमृतपाल जी बारे वो भी चिंतित सी कि वो क्यों अजे तक उन्हों का कोई पता वो कहते सानू पुछया ने कि तुहानू कोई ਉਹਦੀ जानकारी है तो वो बारे च सानू तो यो मीडिया के थ्रू ही पता है भी अजे तक वो पुलिस कह रही है भी नहीं सानू नहीं पता वो बारे एवें बेवकूफी बकवास किया जा रहा है, खाली बदनाम किया जा रहा है। ऐसे जी कोई गल नहीं, तुसीं भी डेली जाते सी उत्थे, इन्हां पुलिस ने भी सर्च की है।
Okay, we have more details on Amritpal Singh's movements over the last few days. We're going to share those with you, and we're going to go over to my colleague Anshul to bring you those details right now. Essentially though, after fleeing from Punjab police, Singh went towards Shahkot. He got down from the Mercedes and got into a breezer and started fleeing. I'll bring you more details. Let's go over to Anshul. Anshul, I believe the centre has right now told border security forces that they should be warned that there is a large chance that Amritpal Singh might try to make an escape towards either Pakistan or Nepal. Before we get to that aspect though, for our audiences, can you track what his movement has looked like right from Saturday when the centre first hoped to apprehend him to today, or the information that the centre does have? And Anshul, if I could ask, if you could geographically lay that out for us, track it for us across Punjab, please.
So yes, if you see how Amritpal was actually operating in Punjab, and especially after the entire incident of Ajnala happened, Amritpal actually became a big thing, and he was trying to project himself as the next guru who could go ahead and make sure that the kids of Punjab are free from drugs and other menace, and he was propagating this idea that the Indian government is not going to help them. But yes, what has happened over the last few days, once the chase started, his true colors have come out. When the chase started, he started fleeing from the police. He was in his Mercedes vehicle that has now been recovered by the police. He was fleeing towards Shahkot. From Jalandhar, he was fleeing towards Shahkot. Shahkot is approximately 50 to 60 kilometers away from Jalandhar, is a small town near Jalandhar. He was fleeing towards that, and somewhere in between he got down from his Mercedes, sat into a breezer and started fleeing from there. Once he reached Shahkot, he changed his clothes. Over there. Whatever weapons he had, he left those weapons over there, since there was a large manhunt that was going on at that point in time. There were police pickets at each and every nook and corner that the police had already placed. So hence he changed his clothes, he changed his look, is also something that the police is suspecting at this point in time. But yes, he changed his clothes, he left his weapons. His chola has been recovered, the chola that he was wearing on that very day that he was escaping. That chola has been recovered, the breezer vehicle has been recovered, and it is being said once he reached Shahkot, he left that breezer vehicle, and from there he and one of his associates, both of them who are still at large, they got on 2 bikes and fled from there. Now, since all these developments have come up, now the Punjab police is suspecting that he might have now been able to flee from the borders of Punjab. Now this is something very, very serious, and that is the reason why we are hearing that the central government has now told the BSF to remain extra vigilant, because Amritpal Singh could actually try to cross the borders. Crossing the Pakistan border is still a very, very tough task, a very, very uphill battle, but crossing the Nepal border, which is very, very porous, it is going to be an easy task for him, and hence the BSF has been alerted on the border. So yes, Amritpal Singh has escaped from Punjab is what the police is suspecting at this point in time, but yes, the Punjab police senior officers of the Punjab police are still very, very confident that they are going to get their hands on Amritpal Singh. But yes, at this point in time, it seems like a very, very uphill task, because his location has still not been traced by the Punjab police. In fact, the help of central agencies are also being taken. The IB, Intelligence Bureau, is also in the loop. IB is also trying to trace down his location. But yes, Amritpal Singh.
Even as the opposition parties like yourself came together with the Congress party, the one thing that stood large is that even the opposition is not united as far as this JPC demand is concerned.
Where has it ever happened that in a directorial debut, you win the biggest ever award?
Well, I think we're just absolutely thrilled to receive this great honor.
My heart is racing, to be very honest.
What steps is the government going to take to encourage Indian startups to move their deposits into the Indian banking system?
Prime Minister's office were carefully monitoring this issue from the very start.
Imran Khan is doing a lot of histrionics around these two cases. The attempt to try and whip up sentiment, is that to keep himself politically relevant? Is that because he knows that this current government is unpopular?
आज लाया गया है और उसके बाद आज फिर से यहाँ पर और कई जनों को लाने की बात चल रही है। हालांकि यहाँ पर अभी तक पुलिस ने कोई पुष्टि नहीं की गई है किनको लाया गया है। ऐसे बताया जा रहा है कि ये अंकल भी हो सकता है अमृतपाल के, और एक जो ड्राइवर थे वो भी हो सकते हैं, लेकिन अभी तक कोई ऑफिशियल डाटा हम लोगों को नहीं मिली है, ऑफिशियल खुलासा भी अभी तक नहीं हुई है। और आज शायद और कई जनों को यहाँ पर लाया जा सकता है। जिनको आज 2 जनों को लाया गया, उन लोगों को गुवाहाटी से बाय रोड लाया गया था, और जो लाने वाले हैं उन लोगों को एयरक्राफ्ट थ्रू लाया जाएगा, लेकिन कब तक ये लोग पहुंचेंगे ये अभी तक पुष्टि नहीं की गई है।
देखो, मैं कह रहा हूं, दुनिया के अंदर जो इस प्रकार के आतंकवादी लोग हैं जो चाहते हैं कि भारत को बदनाम किया जाए, भारत के, और ऐसे लोग जो आतंकवादी को सह देने वाले लोग हैं, आज इनको समझना चाहिए। लेकिन इस प्रकार से चाहे पाकिस्तान हो, खालिस्तान हो, ये खालिस्तान पाकिस्तान नहीं, अब तो रहेगा हिंदुस्तान। हिंदुस्तान सब पर सावा शेर रहेगा, सावा शेर, शेर नहीं सावा शेर।
सरदार भगवंत सिंह मान जी ने इस स्थिति दे नाल नजिठिया, मैं उन्होंने ਵਧਾਈ देना। जिस ढंग नाल मान साहब ने इस स्थिति नूं सांभिया, ਉਹ ਵਧਾਈ ਦੇ ਹੱਕਦਾਰ ਨੇ, ਲੋਕ ਖੁਸ਼ ਨੇ। ਕਿਸੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਗਲੀ ਦਾ, ਪਿੰਡ ਦਾ ਕਿਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਨੁਕਸਾਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ, ਕਿਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਅਥਰੂ ਗੈਸ, ਕਿਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਲਾਠੀ ਚਾਰਜ, ਕਿਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਗੋਲੀ, ਕਿਤੇ ਕੁਛ ਨਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਜਿਸ ਢੰਗ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਥਿਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੰਭਿਆ, ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕੀਤਾ। ਔਰ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਸਪਸ਼ਟ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਸਰਦਾਰ ਭਗਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਾਨ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਅਗਵਾਈ ਹੇਠ ਵਿਕਾਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਲੀਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ।
In Punjab, where the hunt for Waris Punjab Day Chief Amritpal Singh Sandhu has entered its 3rd day today. Police have arrested over 100 aides of Amritpal Singh. They've seized cars, arms and ammunition linked to his nexus over the last few days. Yesterday, Amritpal's uncle and close aides surrendered before the Punjab police. The NSA, the National Security Act, has been invoked against them and they've been sent to Assam. They've been placed in a jail within Assam. Now, we'll bring you more details about what the invoke.
Belong in an explanation to ask the culprits and the perpetrators of what happened at London yesterday to be quickly arrested and prosecuted. We launched a strong protest.
Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. Ladies and gentlemen, they've all slunk out of their burrows and they're trying to disrupt, disrespect and defame Bharat. There is a crackdown that is also happening, but this entire K-gang around the world are on a rampage. From the UK to the United States, to Canada, to Australia. They are out on the streets staging violent protests. First it was London, where the Khalistani protesters vandalized the Indian High Commission and tried to bring down the national flag. Then in Australia, they protested outside Parliament. Next was the United States. The Indian consulate was vandalized in San Francisco. They even tried to barge into the consulate. And now pictures have emerged from Canada's Surrey. The event, which was being conducted to welcome the newly appointed Indian High Commissioner to Canada, was cancelled because